At Turpentine Creek Wildlife Refuge, we rescue animals and give them the best lives possible in captivity. We dedicate ourselves to providing quality care for the animals that call our refuge home. In a single day, we can experience the highest highs and the lowest lows. Yet, at the end of the day, we are a family.
Hey guys, welcome to this week's live video. You may notice I'm inside. It's actually raining today, so we'll do this from inside today. This week's animal of the week is going to be Goober. He will actually be 31 this month, so we wanted to showcase him. We also have some new and exciting things in store for him. Goober, like most of our animals, was in the exotic pet trade, previously owned as a pet, and he came to us from Oklahoma. So he was owned by a couple, and he eventually bit the husband, and they decided that they didn't want him anymore. Eventually his canines were removed, unfortunately, which is really common with primates in captivity, as well as cats. So just another wonderful example of animals being inappropriate pets. A lot of people think that primates might make good pets. They try and dress them like children, a lot of different things like that. But what a lot of people don't realize is there's huge ramifications for that animal when you take them out of their normal social environment. So you have one solitary monkey, and just like humans, are very social animals, so it can actually be really stressful for that animal when they do need to be rescued and taken somewhere. We do get a lot of questions on why we only have one monkey. Well, unfortunately, what people don't realize, when they're kind of raised human or in a human-like environment, they don't know how to socialize with their own kind, so they can actually be really aggressive and actually antisocial with their own monkeys. So, you know, at other chimp rescues, monkey rescues, things like that, the staff and caretakers have to spend a lot of time developing relationship with the animals and then teaching them how to be a social animal in their own environment. They should live in troops in the wild and different things like that. So Goober is actually really unique, but he's the perfect example of why primates, even though they're not a huge 600-pound tiger, still make a really inappropriate house pet. They can fight really strong, so they can be really dangerous, but along with that, if the animal needs to be rescued out of that situation, then they go to a rescue, and they have a long road ahead of them figuring out how to socialize. Goober does actually socialize with a few of the staff, so because it's a really important social behavior. So we'll groom him, and he'll groom us. So there's a few of us that are allowed to interact with Goober. That way, we are mostly a no-contact facility. So it's just the senior staff that want to engage in that social behavior with Goober. So you'll see occasionally some of us out there interacting him with that way, and that is why it's actually for his social benefit. So that's just a little bit about Goober. You guys will get to see the staff member of the week also interacting with him. She is, Goober's one of her favorites. So that's going to be McCormack, our curator. And so you get to learn a little bit more about her this week too.
Hi, I'm McCormack. I'm the curator here at Turpentine Creek Wildlife Refuge. I've been here 19 years in January. Originally I'm from upstate New York, Oswego, and did an internship here back in '99. And then after staying on, took over the intern program and built it from about 4 to 6 interns all the way to 18, and now we're at 15 interns. So I manage a lot of the animal care, diets, the habitat building, and some of it just communication with the animals. So go around and do daily checks on them, and I absolutely love it here. This is Goober. He's one of my favorite animals here, even though we are a big cat and bear sanctuary and rescue those guys. We do have Goober, and we're working on a special project for him this winter. So in my free time, I have 2 rescued dogs and 1 rescued cat, and I do a lot of camping, fishing, hiking, anything I can do outdoors, and try to actually take those days off, but a lot of times I'm up here at work. doing other things. Alright, so this is a new building that we just received a donation for. Previous intern, Sarah, also from upstate New York, I've known Sarah since we were in middle school together. She had got her biology degree, came and did an internship here years ago, and she purchased this for Goober. So this winter, instead of him just having his heated den area where he's going to have a small indoor enclosure that he can go into and have a lot more activities inside when it's cold out. So this will be all heated for him. We're going to be building a chute from the top of his enclosure across the walkway here, and we'll be taking out one of the windows in the building and putting in a heavy-duty dog door, and that will be his in and out part. And now we can go inside and see what it's going to look like. This will be our access here. And inside, if you can imagine, one of our volunteers is coming today to put up some insulation, but inside it'll be insulated and paneled with some paneling. Everything has to be waterproof, of course, and that way we can keep it as immaculately clean in here as we can. And there'll be a wall across here of wire. Of course, we have to wire the windows. We don't want him to open the windows and climb up. And we'll have an access in here where we can feed him and give him water in here. And so he'll basically have this whole area for him for it being heated. We have to put lights in here. There'll be a ventilation fan installed. Maybe a TV, like he can watch movies. But we'll be able to put a lot more enrichment stuff for him in here, and that way when it's cold, he'll have things to do instead of just staying warm in his den area. So we're pretty excited about this and happy about the donation, and can't wait to get started on it. The floors also will have a coating put on them. You know, he's not trained like a dog would be to leave their den area. If he has to urinate, so we'll be treating all the floors and laying down some new flooring that we'll be able to totally mop and keep definitely 100% sanitary in here. So we're pretty excited about this for Goober, and hopefully stay tuned. In the next couple of weeks we plan on having it done and him being able to have access to it.
Alright, so what you guys are going to watch next is our Goober interacting with our curator doing behavioral management training. So I explain a little bit as the video goes through, but basically it's to help us ease stress behaviors as well as help us with veterinary procedures that we may do. So you can train an animal to offer their arm, so we could do a voluntary blood draw, just visual checks of their body. We can ask them to stand so we can look at their tummy and everything like that. We could ask them to stand up so we could look at their back, and maybe they you know, had a wound or something that we can check and actually apply medication to. So if you come out to the refuge in the afternoon, you'll see some of the behavioral management training going on as well. Okay, so we had a question about how old Goober is. He's actually going to be 31 on the 19th of this month. So he's a little old man. They can live into their 30s, at most around their 40s, I believe. So what you're watching is our curator, Emily McCormack, doing behavioral management training with Goober, our rhesus macaque. So what she has, she's asking for the behavior target, and you'll see he touches his lips to it. So everything that we do training-wise with the animals is positive reinforcement. So you might hear a whistle in between me talking. That's the bridge. The reinforcer is going to be the food. So it's just like clicker training that a lot of people are familiar with their own animals. So right now we're in the beginning stages of some of these behaviors with the animals. And our end goal will be to ease some of the stress associated with just basic care of the animals. Some of them come in very, very upset. It's a whole new situation when we rescue them. And some of it we can actually do some pretty interesting and fun veterinary things with them. So you can see she asked for a side behavior, so he touched his shoulder and his hip against the cage, and when you saw her touch, she's actually desensitizing him to a touch. So right now she's able to touch him right now with a cap syringe. You'll see that's what she just did. Eventually we'll continue to desensitize, and then she took the cap off. It's a blunted syringe. So this is all going to be you know, for things like vaccinations. If we needed to sedate him, we can use just a syringe instead of having to use what's called a pull syringe. So that's the eventual goal with the animals, is to ease some of those behaviors. So with some primates, and even him, eventually we could ask him to present his arm, and you could actually draw blood just like you do with people. So we could run his levels if we needed to without having to fully sedate him. With the bigger cats, you can actually ask them for a tail behavior. So you can ask them to present their tail, and we can draw blood that way without a full sedation. So that's our goal. That's what we're working towards. So some of the animals that are in the program right now, we have around 30 of our animals that are in some amount of training. She asked for a side behavior. So Goober gets, he's a lot like us. He likes sweet things and treats, so she has a hidden little pouch. And so she'll ask him to do a behavior, and she's going to pull out maybe a granola. There's some nuts in there, peanuts. So you can see he didn't want to do the side behavior right there, and that's okay. She asked for it a couple times. He didn't want to, and then she chose a different behavior. So again, it's all positive. So it's up to the animal. If he didn't feel like training today, he doesn't have to come over. So again, everything is through positive reinforcement, and of course the animals respond really well to that. They want to work with us, and it's also really fun and exciting for us to work too. So even some of the basic commands that we ask, like sit, down, up, we can just do visual checks on their body.
They just have crumbs left.
So you can see we can ask him to move around his cage, his enclosure.
All done.
So you can see that's an all done signal, so he knows that he's all finished working with him. And then he gets a special end behavior treat. Peanuts are one of his favorite things to eat, so you can see he's really excited, and that signals to him that he's all done and he did a good job. Hey guys, hope you learned a lot this week with our video. We always ask that you guys share. You can help us be ambassadors for these animals too. So just a simple little thing, just share our video, and that way we can reach more people and educate more people about the exotic pet trade, but our mission as a facility to help us help the animals. So we always appreciate those shares. We'll just leave it open for just a couple more minutes to see if there's any more questions I wouldn't mind answering. So again, thank you guys. So we have a question if we do the operant conditioning with the cats and bears as well. Yes, we do. We have a couple bears in the program, and soon we're going to be integrating all the bears into the program so that we can train them a shift behavior when we get their 2-acre habitat built, and I'll talk about that later in episodes to come, so you have to stay tuned in. And we do also have several of the cats in the behavior training as well. So if you come around 5:15, you'll get to see the interns do some training with the animals, and then throughout the day, just at different times, kind of when the staff have time, is when we do some of the other training. So I can't give you a precise schedule, but definitely if you come in the afternoon about 5:15, unless it's raining, you'll see us out there training and working with some of the cats as well. So I have a question: if the animals will really hold still if we go to poke them to draw blood. So that is a very lengthy behavior. That would be a chain behavior that we would begin training. I'm actually in the process of teaching one of our leopards a hold behavior. So that'd be one of the behaviors that you would have to teach as well. So you would teach them a hold behavior. So right now for the leopard, it's a positioning thing. Say if we were going to do a blood draw, we would design what's called a sleeve, and the animal would put their arm into the sleeve apparatus and they would hold onto it. And again, this is going to take a long time to train, and we would teach the desensitization and that kind of thing to our touch. And the first couple of times, of course, when you do go to draw blood, you're going to, you know, lose a little bit of trust, and then you take a few steps back, and then again you rebuild that trust with them. So yes, you can eventually get them to hold still. It does a very lengthy process and requires a lot of trust from the animals too. So again, there's a lot of time that you would invest with a behavior like that. But yes, you can eventually get them to. Okay, so we have a question, the difference about the Coffee with the Curator tour and our regular tour. So when you come and you pay admission for the regular tour, you get access to the self-guided area, and then you're offered a guided tour, which is a half-mile walk around our loop. And that's different from the Curator tour. So the Curator tour is going to involve a presentation to give you a lot more insight into the exotic pet trade and tigers and everything like that. And then you go on a tour a little bit behind the scenes. So you'll see the additional, you'll see that tour, but then you also will see our Rescue Ridge area. You'll get to see the hospital that we just did last year, and you'll see our shop and commissary area. And you also get, of course, a lot of time with our curator, so you can ask a lot of in-depth questions, and you get, you know, almost 20 years of knowledge in this field, as well as our facility. We also do have a caravan tour, which would be with a guided, another special tour. It doesn't have the presentation, but you will get to see all the behind the scenes. So you get to see Rescue Ridge as well as the hospital and our shop and commissary area too. And you can book those online. They're offered on Saturdays right now. So you can find that information, how to book it online. And then those have to be done in advance, pre-booked. So we have a question: if any of the animals take to operant conditioning better than others. All of the animals that we have in the program are really willing to learn. We have some, of course, just like people, that learn at a different pace, and they all learn slightly differently. So that's actually pretty interesting to get to learn the animal in that way too. One of our bears, Thunder the bear, is really intelligent, and he probably knows right now the most behaviors of our animals. And then we do have some other animals like Magic the leopard that I spoke a little bit about earlier. She's a very aggressive animal, and we chose her to help us with some of her stress behaviors and just some of the daily care that upsets her. So that's why we chose her. So it's just that they're completely different. So although she doesn't maybe know as many behaviors as Thunder, it has really helped us be able to help her with her care. Living in captivity. We did have to do an emergency spay on her. She was having some trouble going to the bathroom, and it turned out to be a tumor that was in her cervix, so we had to spay her, basically, is what we did. But previous to that, any kind of procedure, she would be very distrustful of us, you know, going into the next week. So when we did the spay, we gave her the long-lasting antibiotic and some pain meds. But it was really awesome. She had been in the training program about 9 months. And again, previous to that, she wouldn't come near us for, you know, at least a week. so that we could check on her. So that she was in the program, she actually came over the next day. I didn't ask her to do any behaviors aside from just come over and take some treats. So it was just really awesome to get to see the change in behavior for her, going from a fearful animal before when we had to do a vet procedure to one she was unsure about what was going on, but she came over and let me do a little bit of a check on her. So that was really awesome. So as far as different animals that take to it well, I think they all really respond. They're really food motivated animals, so you just have to find what they really enjoy working for. Goober, you saw that he had a hidden pouch. That's because he's really smart, so he'll see some different treats in there, and if it's something that isn't as tasty to him as something else, so he really likes granola. Peanuts is one of the things that he does just at the end, so if he knows that you're going to give him something he really likes, he'll do the behavior. If he sees something, maybe like a piece of fruit that he's like, maybe that doesn't taste as good, he won't do it as readily. So it really just depends on the animal, and the ones that we have now are really adapt to it. So we enjoy working with them, and they enjoy working with us too, which is nice. All right, well, thank you guys. It looks like we don't have any other questions right now, so thanks for joining us. Make sure you tune in next week at 10 o'clock, and we'll see you then. Thanks again, guys.